Alright, I'll be solving questions that we actually solved yesterday, but I'll be repeating the last three questions because they were actually really tricky, and I think it's really helpful to just resolve them. So I hope this is helpful for you as well. If you haven't watched my previous video, I do suggest you watch it because these exercises actually build up in difficulty. It starts off easy and then it gets really difficult. And we're at the difficult part now. Yesterday, we did solve questions 6 and 7 correctly the first try, but question 8, I did struggle a lot, but I'll still be solving the last three questions because, yeah, they're just really good. So let's begin. So let's define our function. And as usual, we want to create an empty dictionary to edit D1 and D2. So question 6 says, write a Python function merge dictionaries that merges two dictionaries and returns the result. So we want to make it so that we iterate over both dictionaries, and well, you can actually look at the objects. So let me explain it like this. For example, we're creating a new empty dictionary, and we look at first dictionary number 1, called object number 1. And object number 1 has S60, XC90, etc. So we're first going to iterate over the keys, and we're going to tell Python that if the keys, so these values before the colon, they don't exist, like add them to an empty dictionary. It's as logical as it gets. And so, of course, naturally, after that step, our new dictionary is actually going to be identical to our first dictionary called object 1. They're both going to be identical. But the change will come when we actually build an else if statement and say, oh, well, if I, the key we're iterating over, already exists in our dictionary, well, let's update the corresponding values to that key and let's iterate over these so that we actually end up merging these dictionaries. I said update, don't let that confuse you, because Python actually has a built-in function called update, and it basically adds values. No, it kind of like merges or adds two dictionaries, you could say. So it's exactly what this exercise requires. So that's what we're going to do. I hope my initial explanation was clear. If it wasn't so clear, I hope it will be clear as I code this. So yeah, let's continue. So if I in D1, hold on. For I in D1, if I not in D, we just say di, so the key value. Well, honestly, so it's easier to understand, I'm just gonna call this dictionary. For dictionary in D1, well, hold on. No, well, that's actually not a dictionary. I shouldn't be confusing you. Okay, key, because if we iterate over the values of D1, it's gonna look at only these values. And these are called keys. So I'm gonna call them keys for you to understand easier. So if key is a not in D, which is of course shorthand for dictionary, then our key value should equal to key. The key should equal to key. So that might not make sense, but basically the left-hand side, well, the key kind of looks at the key value, but it also takes into account the value pair as well. So for example, for key in D1, well, it actually iterates over them. Actually, what if, let's change this. Let's not call it a key, because when we iterate over it, it's not actually just taking a look at the key. Let's call it iteration. For iteration in D1, if the iteration, so the whole iteration is not in our new dictionary, let's say our iteration is equal to iteration. So, okay, I know barely anything changed other than the wording, but at least this part is correct now, it makes sense. But this part is still a bit confusing, I understand. But this is how dictionary formatting goes. When you have dictionary, when you want to add something to the dictionary, you first call the dictionary, then open bracket, and then call the key that you want to append the value to. And that key is actually going to be the value we're iterating over, which is the iteration. But then Python is actually smart enough to think that, oh, well, the iteration part only looks at the key. So then when we actually set a dictionary key to a value, Python is actually smart enough to only consider the key, the value part of this iteration and just append it. Oh, I hope this was helpful. If it wasn't, yeah, we might just have a look at the debugging and it will make sense more, hopefully. So, of course, there is not going to be a circumstance where the iteration is not in D, so we can just move on to the other one. Let's call it iteration 2 for D2. If iteration 2 in D2, if iteration 2 not in D, well, actually, there's not going to be a circumstance because we're just merging two dictionaries. So if iteration 2 is in dictionary, then we want to update it. So we want to update it like this. D iteration dot update iteration, I think. Let me just double check if that makes sense. Oh, hold on. The iteration 2 dot update iteration 2. I hope this is correct. Maybe it's not, but we'll see. Well, these are tricky anyways. Then we can just return D and see if it's true. Well, it's not true, so yeah. And we did a mistake in the update part. Okay. Well, we want to update that specific part of the iteration. So we're going to have brand Volvo. We want to update this part. I'm actually going to first debug. To see if my initial part is correct as well. I just want to double check, because maybe it's not, you never know. So it just goes over them and then goes to the print statement and then checks. And then for iteration in D1, if iteration, which is S60 here, not in dictionary, which is an empty dictionary, obviously it isn't, then iteration, so S60 is equal to iteration. Oh, okay. So it actually doesn't work. Then we should make it so that it's... Oh, I see. It should be D1 dot iteration. Well, let's debug again for that reason. So yeah, thanks to the debugging, we actually know that we did a small mistake there. Yes, now it's as we want. So it's just going to append all of these key and value pairs to a new dictionary, but then it's going to go to dictionary 2. So for iteration 2 and dictionary 2, well, we have the same values. If iteration 2 is in D, which is going to give us true, then iteration, well, it's going to give us an error, so it's kind of pointless. I think we have to say D2. We have to update that value. What is iteration 2? Well, that's the whole thing. Can I even use dot values here? A string object has no attribute values. String indices must be integers. So it thinks it's a string indice here. That's not even what I want. Oh wait, I'm so stupid. No way I did this mistake. Of course it's wrong, because I used the wrong brackets the whole time. Right. So we have to update with the values. So does this work? A string object has no such thing. Okay. Dictionary update sequence element. Value error. Dictionary. But iteration 2 in D. Oh, I get it. I think. There should be a D2 here, I think. Finally, okay. Thank God I did not flop. Well, I just had to think like what's going on. Well, I just thought, well, we have to update the value part of the key value pair, which is a dictionary itself. And I know the update function makes it so that the initial part of the update function should be a dictionary, and then inside the brackets should also be another dictionary. But you want this update function to update a dictionary that it's related to the same bracket. So like if you say that, if you just say D, well, it's going to include this whole bigger dictionary. But then if you look at the iteration, well, the iteration is looking at a different value, so it's not going to work. So you have to specify what thing you have to update. So iteration, for example, if you just had D and then iteration 2, well, this would be, as I said, the big dictionary, but then this would be the inner part. But well, the dimensions don't match. Yeah, I finally could explain it. So you have to make it so that one, it's your target value pair, and then it's the two parts are within the same dimension, if it makes sense. So yeah, that's how it goes. Let's do question 7. But before that, let me just quickly remove these breaking points. Okay, write a Python function, add up D1, D2 that returns the union of two dictionaries with numerical values. If a key appears in both dictionaries, its values are added up. So, well, we're going to use basically a really similar method in the previous question. So define add up D1 then D2. Then we're just gonna, as usual, create a new dictionary. Then we're just gonna do the same thing. So for I in D1, if I not in D, then D I is equal to, just thinking of what I is. So if I is not, so for I in D1, let's see what D1 actually is. So let me just uncomment these. Good, we have 3 checks in this question. That's really nice. What is wrong here? I think I just have to combine these. Oh, of course. Now it should work. Alright, so we have a dictionary like this. So I in D1 would basically be the key component. So this part. But we actually want to make it so that the key is paired up with a value, and that value we want the value pair from D1. So we just say D1 of I. And that's it. Then for K and D2, wait, what is wrong with this print statement? Whatever, I'll get to it later. If K not in D, well, we just do the same. We just swap these for K and D1 for D2. But then, else if K in D, you could have just said else as well, it doesn't matter. Well, then we want it so that we add the previous value. So dk is equal to dk. Python, as I said, it's smart enough to understand that this part, since we're talking about dictionaries, is the key component, then this is the value component. So it just takes those values accordingly. We just add D2, okay. Then this should work. Then if we return D, hopefully it is going to be correct. And yes, first try. first try they're correct. Well, just so you can understand the question better, let's actually run the debugger really quickly. So it's just looking at D1, we have A100, B200, and 300. Well, it's just adding. We have D2 is equal to an empty string. So it's adding all of these values to our new empty dictionary, so there's no problem here. But then for K and D2, well, D2 is an empty dictionary, so, well, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to compute, so it immediately returns what we had previously. So it returns true, actually. Now, we go to the second print statement. This time, we do have two dictionaries, so that's something different. But if you look at actually the print statement, the values in the first dictionary are completely different to the values in the second dictionary. So, well, we're just going to operate so that we need to add all of these values to the dictionary. As you can see, all values from the first dictionary are added to a brand new dictionary. So then we go to the second dictionary, and it realizes that all of these keys don't exist in our brand new dictionary. So it's like, yeah, how about we add these key value pairs, brand new, to our new dictionary, and it just iterates, and yeah, that's how we get our next true statement. Then we have this dictionary, where we have some common elements, and here we actually need to update it so that we add these items. Well, it just does the same thing initially, so I'm just going to skip that part quickly. What we have here is that in our brand new dictionary we have these values, and for K and D2, well, we have these values now. We have A, B, we don't have a C, but we have a D. So for A and B, we need to add these values. So for K not in D, well, this is going to be false, so it's going to move on to the next element, and that is going to be A is equal to D. In our new dictionary, we had A is equal to 100, but now we're going to have it so in dictionary 2, we have A is equal to 300. So here what's happening is it's adding these values, so A is going to equal to 400. Wait, did I just... Oh yes, A is equal to 400. I was reading this part and I'm like, did I just make an addition mistake? Okay, and it just repeats. It just does the same thing for all of the elements, and that's how we get our last true. That's how it goes. Then our last question for this video. I hope this one goes well, because yesterday this one took like half an hour. This can stay. Let's first uncomment these. There's a P missing here. It's going to be a problem later on. So, alright, so as usual, let's define our function. So we define it like this. Then we just create another dictionary as usual. Dictionary, oh wait, D is equal to dictionary. Yeah, I was going to do that mistake, but never actually define a dictionary variable called this dictionary, because it's actually a built-in function. You don't want to confuse your built-in function names with your variable names. So yeah, just make sure that's a habit. So it's always actually helpful to look at these, because at least in my exam we're gonna get stuff like this, so you actually have an idea of what you're gonna deal with. So we have, wait, we didn't even read the question, that's my bad. Write a Python function merge list of dictionaries that merges list of dictionaries specified by the attribute key. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, we have a list, but within the list we have a set of dictionaries, and it's the same for a second list. So we just want to merge these two, but how are we going to merge them? So, well, if, for example, the attribute key, which is car in this case, is in both dictionaries, we're just going to want to combine them. So we have car, S60, brand, Volvo, types, sedan, yeah. S60 type sedan. Oh yeah, this is the result. That's why I was confused. I'm like, there's no way the first dictionary has all of these items, but this is going to be our results. Why is this a problem? I think I deleted one extra quote marks. Yeah, okay. Problem fixed. So we want to merge these items. This is such a tricky question, as you can see. That merges two lists of dictionaries by a specified attribute key. Okay. Let's just do the same thing. For I in LD1, if I not in D, then we want to say di is equal to for I in LD1, that's going to iterate over the dictionaries. But we don't want to do that. It's good that we iterate over the dictionaries, but we want to make it so if I key, so that specific key is not in the dictionary, that we want to make it so that the I key is equal to it's equal to the whole new dictionary. I think that's it. Then for K in LD2, is there even a circumstance where we don't have different things? Well, no. So that's not our problem. Let me fix this problem as well. Yes. If K, actually I'll still do it, who cares? If K not in D, even though the question doesn't cover it, I'll still do it. Then DK key is equal to K, and else if K in dictionary, so if K, we forgot to add this. I'm thinking something right now. If we iterate over a dictionary and we just write it, okay, this should work. Sorry, I was just thinking on my head. So if this is, then we need to use the update, but this is the most brain melting part. I don't even know if what I've done previously is correct, but we need to finish this off to see if we've done any errors first. So we want to update this. What do we want to update? We want to update, so within the list we're going to have, so within this we have a list, we're going to end up with list of dictionaries, but within the list of dictionaries there's also another dictionary. So that's something really confusing. So we want to update that inner part of the dictionary. How do we do that? Dictionary, K, key. I think that inner part of the dictionary is this, if what I'm saying is true by any means. Then we need to update it as the whole dictionary, because that inner part, so we're going to have a list of dictionaries, and within the list of dictionaries there's going to be another dictionary, but that very inner dictionary is actually going to be the part we want to update with our K here. And that K is already the items, the list of dictionaries within LD2. So that should do the work. Return list. We want to make a list, but then this is going to be d dot values of these. There's no way I got it right. Seriously? First try? Wait. I so don't believe what I've done is real that I have to delete everything. So we have 3 statements now. Wait, what? Oh, we have one check. Yeah, it is true. Okay. Impressive. Honestly, I'm glad it works finally, because I've done this exercise so many times at this point. Like, I obviously don't memorize them. It's impossible to memorize stuff like this. But you kind of have an idea how to approach it. So maybe that is why I got it. Well, it's probably why I got it correct the first try. But that's still a good sign. I hope it was clear. It made sense. And I hope if you watched my previous video and you actually tried to solve these questions along with me, now that we're solving them for a second time, I hope you also did much better than the previous one. But that's it for this one, and see you soon.